Samuel L. Jackson. The voice that commands attention, the presence that dominates every screen, the legend whose performances shaped generations. But what if the story behind that iconic voice is far darker than anyone imagined? What if behind the power, the confidence, and the global fame lies a life filled with battles that nearly destroyed everything before the world ever had a chance to celebrate him? Because this is not just the story of a Hollywood legend. This is the story of a man who fought his way out of chaos, addiction, rejection, and pain, only to carry those scars into a life the world thinks is perfect. Born in Washington, D.C. and raised in Chattanooga, Tennessee, his early life was shaped by absence. His father lived far away, leaving his mother and extended family to raise him in a segregated America where opportunities were limited and expectations even lower. But from a young age, there was something different about him, something intense, something unshakable. He attended Morehouse College, where he initially pursued marine biology before discovering acting, a decision that would alter the course of his life forever. But before Hollywood, before red carpets, before iconic roles, his life took a turn that many never talk about. Because during the late 1960s, he became deeply involved in activism, influenced by leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and the growing civil rights movement. However, activism came with consequences, and his participation in protests led to his suspension from college after being involved in holding members of the board hostage during a campus demonstration, a moment that could have permanently derailed his future. But instead, it became part of a larger pattern, a life constantly walking the edge between self-destruction and reinvention. Because after returning to school and eventually graduating, he pursued acting seriously, joining theater groups and slowly building a career. But the path was anything but smooth. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, he struggled not just professionally, but personally, battling addiction to drugs and alcohol, a battle that would nearly cost him everything. His talent was undeniable, but his reliability was questioned. His potential was clear, but his personal demons were stronger. There were moments where his career stalled, where opportunities slipped through his fingers, not because he wasn't good enough, but because he was fighting something far deeper than rejection. He was fighting himself. And it reached a breaking point when his addiction spiraled so far out of control that his family had to intervene, sending him to rehabilitation, a moment of truth, a moment where everything could have ended or finally begun. And against all odds, he chose to fight his way back, emerging sober, determined, and more focused than ever. And that is when the world finally began to see what he was capable of. His breakthrough came with collaborations alongside Spike Lee in films like Jungle Fever, where his performance earned critical acclaim and proved that he was more than just another struggling actor. He was a force, but even then, success did not come instantly. It was a slow climb, a series of roles that built momentum until one moment changed everything. His collaboration with Quentin Tarantino in Pulp Fiction delivered a performance so powerful, so unforgettable, that it redefined his career and turned him into a global star. His portrayal of Jules Winfield became iconic. His voice, his intensity, his presence impossible to ignore. And suddenly, the man who once struggled to find roles became one of the most sought-after actors in Hollywood. But with fame came a different kind of pressure, because success does not erase the past. It amplifies it. As he became a household name, starring in massive franchises like Star Wars and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where he played Nick Fury, a character that introduced him to an entirely new generation of fans. His legacy grew stronger, his influence expanded, but behind the scenes, the weight of everything he had endured never fully disappeared. Because the truth is, his journey was never just about acting. It was about survival. Every role, every line, every performance carried the echo of a life that had nearly fallen apart multiple times. And perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of his story is how close the world came to never knowing him at all, how easily addiction could have taken him, how many opportunities were almost lost, how many moments could have ended differently if he had made one wrong decision at the wrong time. And even as he reached the peak of his career, earning awards, recognition, and respect across the industry, there were still moments that reminded him of the fragility of everything he had built. Moments of reflection, moments where the past resurfaced, reminding him of the person he used to be, and the battles he fought to become who he is today. And at 77, the reality of his journey carries a different weight, because time adds perspective. It reveals the full picture, not just the success, but the cost. The years spent fighting, addiction, the relationships tested by his struggles, the constant pressure to maintain an image while knowing how close it all came to collapsing. And while the world celebrates his achievements, there is a deeper story, one that speaks to resilience, but also to the pain that shaped it. Because every success story has a hidden side, a side that rarely makes headlines, a side that reveals the true cost of greatness. And for him, that cost was measured in years of struggle, in moments of doubt, in battles that no one saw until they were already won. And that is what makes his story so powerful and so heartbreaking, not because he failed, but because of how much he had to overcome to succeed. Because when you look at him today, you see confidence, you see power, you see a legend. But what you don't immediately see is the journey that nearly broke him. The nights of chaos, the moments of fear, the realization that everything could be lost in an instant. And yet, despite all of it, he endured, he evolved, he transformed his pain into purpose, his struggles into strength, his past into a foundation that allowed him to stand taller than ever before. And that is why his story resonates on a level that goes beyond entertainment, because it is not just about movies, it is about life. It is about the reality that even the strongest voices can come from the darkest places, and that sometimes the most inspiring stories are the ones that almost never get told, because they are buried beneath layers of success and celebration. And at 77, his story stands as a testament to the power of redemption, the possibility of change, and the undeniable truth that even when life pushes you to the edge, it is still possible to come back stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. But that does not erase the past. It does not undo the pain. It simply proves that survival is possible even when everything seems lost. And that is where the heartbreak truly lies, not in what the world sees, but in what he had to endure. To get there, a journey defined by struggle, sacrifice, and an unrelenting fight to reclaim his life and his legacy.